Welcome back. Welcome to the next episode of our journey from Dhaka to Khulna. In this episode, we are we are on the train journey from Dhaka to Khulna, crossing some, first leaving the Dhaka city, the capital, that seemed like never ending. Then crossing some beautiful Bangladeshi countryside. Then somewhere in the middle crossing a massive Jamuna river, some more countryside, and finally arriving at the third biggest city in Bangladesh, Khulna. So I hope you will enjoy it.
Every morning at 4:30.
So we left Dhaka city in the early hours, very early hours. The train was scheduled to leave at 6:30 or around 6 o'clock, and we had to leave quite early. It was still dark. As we were leaving, the city was just waking up from the sleep and back to its normal life, extremely busy, normal everyday life. But we were leaving it. We were leaving Dhaka behind, and we got to the train station early enough. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know how many people were there. We heard that the Bangladeshi trains are very crowded. We were lucky this time. It was quite empty on the platform. There weren't too many people. So yeah, we were there in time and without hassle. We're able to get on the train for the journey that lasted almost 12 hours. The scheduled duration was 10 and a half, but it's for some unknown delays, it went up to almost 12 hours.
Oh, there's a huge fire in the middle of the railroad tracks.
Really?
Yeah.
They're burning.
Our train to Kulna. Now we are on the train bound for Kulna. Managed to find it. Managed to get on it. And now for the next 10 hours we'll ride on this train to Kulna.
We left the station, but to leave the city of Dhaka, it took another half an hour or so, even longer than that. And for the first 20 minutes, or about 20 minutes, the train is passing by endless numbers of slums, of little houses created, or makeshift houses made just by the railroad tracks on both sides. And in between the slums there are markets, there are some kind of storage places. Everything is happening, and with crowds of people. You can just for 20 minutes, half an hour, you just see just one big sea of slums and people on both sides of the tracks.
Video. station, it doesn't stop. Slum after slum after slum. People living just by the railroad tracks, eating food, doing whatever people do, everything here. Right next to passing trains. Crazy life. It sucks.
And then the train leaves the city. You're traveling through a beautiful Bangladeshi countryside. Back then it was April, and so the rice fields were still very, very green. And you can understand once you see the Bangladeshi countryside and all that green, sea of green around you, you understand where that green color in Bangladeshi culture comes from. It is definitely from those beautiful green rice fields that you see all around you. The distance between Dhaka and Khulna is approximately 200 kilometers in a more or less straight line. But because the closest bridge across the Jamuna river was located back then, was located approximately 150 kilometers north of Dhaka city, so in order to get to Khulna we had to go in the opposite direction for about 6 hours, then cross Jamuna river and then head back down south to Khulna city. Today it is quite much more convenient to get from Dhaka to Khulna because of the new bridge which was constructed, or it was opened in 2022, and now the distance between Dhaka and Khulna has been shortened by 200 kilometers, or by half. Now it's about 200 kilometers, and it's you're leaving Dhaka and heading towards Khulna in that direction, instead of going in a completely opposite direction to cross the river and then head back down south. So that is a huge improvement. But in 2014 the new bridge wasn't there, so we had to go north to Bangabandhu Bridge, which is approximately 5 kilometers long, and cross the river and then head back down south through somewhere Bangladeshi countryside until we reached the city of Kulny.
Train to Dhaka. Video.
And on such long train rides, you get acquainted with fellow passengers, and I had a pleasure to get acquainted with some people on the train. There was this young fella that I met in the very beginning of the journey. He was actually an employee of Bangladesh Railroad Company that ran the train, and his job. And interesting, anyway, I called him Bengali Jackson because he resembled Michael Jackson very much. At least I thought so. And his job was to guard the cart where he was on from unwanted passengers. And at stations, many stations, there are all swarms of people that wanted to get on the train without tickets, I assume. And his job was to keep people like that away. I also had a pleasure to get acquainted with a local journalist that was on the train, and we had some interesting conversations about Jamuna River especially. So it was quite interesting, quite a very long but I must say quite comfortable and interesting ride.
Cricket champion?
Champion! Sri Lanka!
Sri Lanka?
Sri Lanka!
Largest river for carrying sediment. It's carrying almost 1 trillion tons sediment over a year.
Okay.
So it's become dry.
Ah, I see.
এদিকে তোমার পড়ছে এখন দেখি এদিকে
As you leave Dhaka city, you come to the edge of the city, then the countryside begins and you see the beautiful greenery of Bangladesh. You pass through an endless sea of rice fields, and then about 150, maybe 200 kilometers north of Dhaka, we come to the bridge across Jamuna River. It is a Bangabandhu bridge which was opened in 1998. And that was the closest bridge to the western side of Bangladesh from Dhaka. So we had to go, and at this point Jamuna River is approximately 5 kilometers in width, which is already massive. When you see the river like that, it's hard to believe it's actually a river. It is huge. But Jamuna River can be anywhere from 5 kilometers, and 5 kilometers is the smallest width usually, and it is between 5 to 20 kilometers in width. 20 kilometers. I mean that's really huge. And we come to Bangabandhu Bridge and start crossing the river, and it is interestingly enough the crossing of this river. Because this river plays such a big such an important role in Bangladeshi culture. It becomes a festival. People are excited. Some people are singing. Everybody's looking outside the window just to admire this massive body of river and the passage across it. I think before the bridges were built, it was quite dangerous. So it must come from that fact that crossing that river was actually something really big, and lives could be lost in the process. So it still sits in Bangladesh people, and they treat it as a festival almost.
So there it is,
Yes, this is the river, Jamuna.
Jamuna River.
Jamuna river.
Wow, this is really wide.
Okay, I will. You can't see on side from another side.
Jamuna River, the end of Ganges, Brahmaputra. Even Bangladeshi people are excited. They're all singing, passing across.
And as we go, as the train goes across the bridge, you see beneath you the river, of course, but you also see what appears to be islands, and those are not small islands, with pastures, with fields, even buildings on them. These are actually these are sort of islands, but they're not permanent islands. There are temporary islands called chars in Bengali language, and these chars are actually sand deposits created during monsoons, and they can last for one season or can last for a couple of seasons, but at any moment, during any monsoon, they can be cleared, removed by water, and that sand can be deposited elsewhere. So you can see, when you look at the photos from different years, from satellite photos, you see how it changes. And you have a char in this location one year, you have a char in this location another year. So it's not permanent. It's temporary. And you see those. And that was a dry season, April. So the water levels were quite low, and those chars were nicely visible. However, 2 months later, when the monsoon comes, everything is flooded, and you have one big sea, one big huge body of water.
So this is a dry season, and after the monsoon comes, 2 months later, all these fields fields will be flooded and will create one giant river.
And we cross the river, we come to the other side, then the train soon after turns back south and heads towards Khulna city, passing through some more of the beautiful Bangladeshi countryside with a sea of green rice fields and small villages here and there.
Travel farmer. They work a lot.
Yes.
All day long.
All day long. Very hard.
Of course. This plant is rice.
That's
It's
rice.
plant.
That's rice plant, eh? And Bangladeshi rice goes on export,
Yeah.
maybe to India.
Yeah. There is power, no power.
No power.
Right? Young man. Hi, brothers. Oi!
And 12 hours later we arrive in the third biggest city of Bangladesh, Khulna. And here in this city we will stay for a few days and that will be shown in the next episode. So I hope you enjoyed this episode and you will come back to see our adventures in the city of Khulna.
Okay, we are arriving at Khulna. After 11 hours of journey, we are finally here. 11 hours on the train. We are finally at Khulna.
I can